Now I'm going to form the bird's beaks here. I'm going to do it with the simple V-cut. Get rid of some excess there. Got one right down here. Once again, just with the toe, you get any more of that blade in there, you'll corkscrew. That's probably good enough for right now. Down here would be a great place for a parting tool, but since I've got the skew chisel in my hand, I just go ahead and use it. Now I'm going to go back to the 3/4 inch gouge and rough out the turn. So you always cut down here. This is the tapered turn, and I don't turn it to size at this point. I wait to dry it. So right now I'm going to leave it a little fat. Get rid of some bulk there so the skew chisel can take care of the rest. Now to form this taper on the bottom of the leg, you start down when you take off the majority of the material, get your taper established, and then just work your way back up. Now the angle of the cut changes as you come down because the diameter gets smaller, so I'm actually lifting up right like that as I come down. I like a slight concavity to it. Okay, maybe we true that up a little bit. That's running pretty true. Okay. So now I'm going to cut these bird's beaks and the fillet with the heel of the skew chisel. A little tricky. Sometimes I mess up. There you go. Nice, crisp and clean, sharp. That needs to be a little deeper there. That cove needs to be a little deeper back on this side. That's prettier right there. So when I get it where I want it, I'll roll it. There you go. Now the fillet's easy. I just come in, take it down like that, and then kind of pivot. Take it in. That way you don't mess up that edge. Nice and crisp and clean. Now I need to give myself a little room right here for rolling the skew around. Now I'm going to go to the skew with the arc on it, a little bit easier to handle. You can use that one. this one's just a little bit safer. It's dangerous enough as it is. I don't like that that bird's beak. It's too big. Too big. Let's take it down a little bit. There you go. That's pretty. Okay. Now let's do the dangerous stuff. So I have to feel where that skew is. Now this is kind of tricky because you can't get in back of the top dead center or you'll catch. But if you don't hit the center, you'll leave a gouge marks there. There we go. Get a little bit of trash on my glasses. Same thing here, same move. Got to find that cutting point. Woo, burning my hand, my left hand. Now I have to throw the heel into it. Down here, I'll stop right here so you can see what I'm going to do. I've been cutting in the center of the skew right here, but if I continue that, then the heel will go up into that cove and mess it up. So right before I hit that score line there, I have to throw the heel up into it and cut it off. About like that. But it got a little dip there now, I don't like that. I like for this neck to end up straight. There we go. Now let's see if I can roll this. Okay. Now the toughest move on the whole thing. I think the proper way to cut this is with the heel of the skew chisel, but like I said, I was self-taught. I didn't know that, so I cut it with back up on the blade, and it's probably not the way to do it, but it's the way I do it, and I catch a lot of times with it. Maybe I ought to learn another way. So anyway, here we go. Okay, I'm a little heavy right there. What I try to do is off-center the cove and off-center the bead, and that way it passes through the fillet just like the fillet wasn't there, and forms a simicurve. But I'm a tad bit heavy right there for that to look just perfect, but I think I might leave it. And now I'm going to mark where the stretcher comes in at one end. Do a little chamfer right there. Now I'm going to use the skew that's straight across because I'm going to use the heel to get started because there's not a bearing surface. If I try to go into that cut back up in here with the blade, it'll catch with me. It might catch with me anyway. Come on, where are you? Came out of the cut. Come on. Where's that edge? See, if I pick it up too much, I'll corkscrew. I don't know what happened to that chisel. We're going to change this one. Noticed when I first started with this one, I entered with the heel and I didn't get the heel out of it. Usually I'll bring the heel out of it about right there, but the heel continued on in about right there. I kept trying to pull it out of it. Finally, when I got it out of it, I didn't like the way it was cutting, so I switched to that one. So anyway, we'll see what the turning looks like now. So I checked for any trash down in the grooves there, and I don't see any. I checked to make sure that there's no gouge marks left up on these tops up here, and there's not. Make sure that all the edges are crisp and clean, and they are. And down through here sometimes I might bounce a little bit, but I'm all satisfied with it. So if you've been watching this since the start, you saw that I split this out of a log, which means that it's green. This tenon needs to be dry before it goes into the chair. It's also a tapered tenon. So if I turned it to the exact size right now, when it dried, it'd be oval and some other issues. So what I do is, just as soon as I turn it, I wrap it up in aluminum foil. Now this is to keep the body of the turning from checking from the heat coming off the kiln. And I stick it in a hole in the top of my kiln for about 48 hours, and it will super dry that. I can then chuck it back on the lathe and turn it true. The kiln just runs off 3 100-watt light bulbs. I can put it back in there, all my spindles in there, super dry. It runs about 140, 150 degrees. I got a rheostat on it, but I hardly ever use that, or never use that, I should say. That's about it. So right now I'm going to take it out, and it's dry now. It stayed in there a couple of days, maybe 3 days. So the way that I turn the tenon to exact size, I have a bunch of ways to do it, but this is the way I do it, and I learned this one from Pete Galbert, is I chuck the leg back in the lathe again, and then I can just look right over the top of the tenon and line it up with the shape of the taper right down below it. Works great. And that's it. So now, looking at the finished tenon, it's easy to see how it lines up just right with that line right there. So there's my 4 finished legs, and as you see, 2 of them are shorter. Those are my rear legs to get the camp that the chair needs.